All right, guys. So here's the deal. Unfortunately, Amy's just having a hard time with her internet today, so it's just not in the cards. So I'm gonna do it. I think it's too bad because I definitely think it adds a lot more when Amy's here talking about some of this stuff, and I know that some of you find it more entertaining when she asks questions or responds. But with schedules and stuff, it was just gonna be harder for me to finish this off. And we'll be back at it next Monday with her. So where I left off was that I was telling Amy that I was staying at this hotel at for Pat Green Billy Bob's, and it was just not the best area, which is too bad. I'm not I don't really care about that shit for the most part, but for the Pat Green show, it was kind of bummer for me because it's like I wanted this to be a really fun experience. I've been looking forward to it for a while, but it was what it was. And we get in there, and it turns out we have a king room. We were supposed to. I thought I would have made two double beds. Turns out we had a king. And these motherfuckers at the Days Inn, by the way, the Days Inn North Stockyards off Gemini Road in Fort Worth, Texas. They ended up charging me, and I should have thought this, $70 to transfer for 2 nights to do from one king to 2 queens, which is ridiculous. Amy already agreed with me earlier that like usually the 2 queen rooms are cheaper. Like I've done it before where I've done comedy and I got a hotel room because I want to get drunk. And it's like I've gotten double rooms usually because double beds are usually cheaper than a king in my experience. But it is what it is. And so this hotel was terrible. The shower barely worked. It didn't look like it had been cleaned. And I'm not a picky guy. I really honestly don't care. I've stayed at some crappy hotels. But it's like when you got charged extra and for this, and it's in the bad area, and I was kind of tired from the drive. And so then we were told there was a breakfast. There's supposed to be breakfast at all these places I go to, by the way, but some people are treating COVID still and not giving us breakfast. So this place where we got it, they were saying they had a bag breakfast. And my buddy went down and he got his, and he tried to get 2 for us, and they wouldn't allow him to do it. And we then went to get groceries, and he said he went to this other hotel and walked in and got a free breakfast, and just walked in and just pretended he was part of the deal. So they said that went to 10. So I thought, okay, great, I'll go over there. Fuck it, I know it's stealing, I get it, but it is what it is. It was a situation where he had walked in, and it really was like breakfast set up for like a conference thing. Like when work people are like, oh, we're going to the Holiday Inn and we're going to have a big meeting and you'll get free breakfast. So it wasn't free breakfast for the hotel. So I didn't get my free breakfast. Then I went down to the desk and it was like 9:20. And I'm like, hey, could I get the bag? It's free breakfast. And he goes, nope, ends at 9, which I get it. Rules are rules. But it's like, dude, ends at 9. I'm like, dude, I didn't know it ended at 9. I thought it was 9:30. I'm staying here. You already charged me $70 to switch a room 2 nights. And he just goes, I'm like, come on, dude. I know what's in a, by the way, here was what was in the bag breakfast. A muffin, a granola bar, and a Rice Krispie treat. So it's not like you're talking like they made eggs in the back and like, hey, that's the amount of eggs we made. It's literally a bag of stuff it's just sitting back there. And finally he goes, I don't have any. We're all out. And anyone that knows me knows that I'm very anti-confrontational. And I just was like, hey, I don't believe you. I don't believe you. And I walked away. I was very upset, very upset. The only thing good about the room was the microwave was pretty good. And that sounds weird, but we've had some bad microwaves too. So the microwave was good. Everything else was disgusting. The hotel was not good. They were mean to us. They charged us bullshit money, in my opinion, which I should have fought. My own fault for not fighting the first day, but that's my own fault. Anyway, so that was the worst hotel experience we've had yet. If you want to see, we did a Yelp and Google review. We put it on our Two Hippies Facebook page. So that was that. And then the big day for Pat Green, and I told Amy on the phone about this. Like, since she's not here, I think it would be more interesting if she was here because she could ask me questions. Anybody that listening knows what I feel about Pat Green. So I'm not going to go too much into it. I will say that in the end, it was an amazing concert. Our seats were really good. Which I did purchase ahead of time, but our seats are good. Pat killed it. He did a really good set. 2 songs thought he would. I don't think I've ever heard live as far as I can recall. And 2 of his new songs which were actually really good. So Pat Green did not disappoint. If you want also to see video of me being very drunk after the Pat Green show, you can also go to the Two Hippies Facebook page where Tyler has put a little compilation of me being very drunk after Pat Green, which leads to a kind of an interesting story. We did get a few people bought us beers, which was awesome. We had a few strangers buy us beers based on our story and stuff like that. And then also, I'm not going to obviously give their address out, but we're looking forward to this. A drunk married, not to disparage, but a married couple who'd had a few adult beverages, I would imagine, that evening. We started talking to them at the White Elephant Bar, which I've been to every time that I've gone to see Pat Green. It's right in the Stockyards. And this couple ended up telling us, they're like, oh, man, this is awesome what you're doing, traveling around the country. That's so cool and shit. When you're come up to Wichita, Kansas, you can stay here and we'll make food and everything. And I'm not going to say their name or address, but we do have it. And we do plan on calling them about this. Oh, he has an email. We could even email them. But we have an absolute address and name and phone number. And so we do plan on calling this guy. And we're all very interested to see how that's going to go. When in like 3 months from now, we try to 3 months, maybe 2.5, 3 months from now, we try to hang out with these, see if these people will be good to their word that they're going to let us stay at their home in Wichita, Kansas. So we got that. I'm trying to remember what I said. Without Amy, it's a little harder to me because I think Amy brings so much to this, but I didn't want to just not end it where we ended it. So for anyone watching on Facebook Live, the first part of it will be in the audio form where we talk about Roswell and Corona, New Mexico. That'll be an audio form probably tomorrow at the Big E Comedy Venture. If you search Big E Comedy Venture on Spotify and iTunes. So I'm trying to think. We had Billy Bob's, Fort Worth. Was there any? Oh, Austin. We went down to Austin after that and did. Austin was really cool. What a cool town. I will say, if you better like dogs. If you go to Austin, it seemed like every freaking person had a dog in Austin. Like even me and Tyler went to this bar post comedy where on Sundays it was like, oh, 20% off your meal if you bring a dog in. So lots of dogs in Austin. We had a nice, really cool Airbnb that was by this park. Very cool. So they had like this spring. It was a natural spring. And they called it a pool, but it was like really, it wasn't a river and it wasn't a lake. It was like a natural spring and not a hot spring, by the way. I know some people, I think sometimes people think that they just assume it's like a hot spring. This was cold water, but it was very cool. And it was like a pool, but it was natural. It was like, again, like really like a lake essentially, but it's a spring. So I think the difference is just the water's coming from above, I guess. But anyway, me and Tyler on our last day, they went and swam in that, which was really cool. It was by far the coldest water I've ever been in my entire life. And I normally would not do it. I'm a pussy. Anyone that knows me, I grew up with a hot tub, so I don't like cold water. And when people say like, oh, the pool water's warm and it's 70 degrees, I'm like, no, that's not warm. I needed it to be 80, like at least. Like this 70 is not warm. So this was cold water, but Tyler got in and I couldn't not get in after that point. And it had such a cool view. Like you were floating around this natural spring kind of pool thing. And you could see the skyline of Austin, which was really cool. I met up with a Detroit cast and Drew and Mike Listener for lunch, which was really awesome too. And she took us we went to this really good barbecue joint. Barney, I guess it's Barney on Facebook. I don't think that's a real name, but it says Barney on Facebook, so that's what I'm going to go with. And we went to this nice barbecue joint, which is Texas. Obviously, you got to do some barbecue. And that was cool. And she directed us to kind of these cool sites. I did not expect Austin, Texas to be as mountain. I don't know if I would consider a mountain. I guess you would. Much more elevation in Austin, Texas than I would have thought. I honestly would have thought Austin, Texas was like flat. I just assumed like a lot of things in Texas. And it was rather mountainy, which was really cool. We did a few little hikes where we saw some cool angles of the city. And then we did some comedy, which checked off another state for our comedy. So that was fourth state in a row that we've done comedy at. The room was terrible. And it's sorry, Roma room, but there was nobody there. And that's fine, though. That's open mic comedy, which is what we're kind of doing. So there was nobody really there at the comedy show that we did. But, it is what it is. We got on a stage in Texas, and that was the goal. We both had probably our worst sets of this trip so far, but the comics there, it just wasn't what it was. No people there, and the guy kind of just threw us up. He's just like, first on the list, Eric, and I just walking up, and it was rough. I will say that I tried a few of the stuff that's been working that didn't work, and I ended up going to a pretty extreme prostitute joke. Because I was like, well, I'm going to if they're not going to laugh at this stuff, I'm going to bring out something really obnoxious that they didn't expect from a random person they've never met. So I did that. it kind of got a little bit of a reaction, but still not much. It didn't help that football was going on. Football has really become, I'm a big sports fan, but football has become a problem with some of these shows. But we still did it. We got up on stage, we did our stuff. We can say we did it. We checked it off a list. We went to a pretty cool rooftop bar after, had a beer, which was fun. And we checked out the Capitol. Not the inside, but the outside. What a massive Capitol building, and very cool. And for a lot of videos like that, again, Tyler does a really good job at taking photos and putting on the photo dump in the Two Hippies, One Drunk Facebook page. So I don't post as many photos. I try to post jokes or very often a little thing of us at a bar. But if you want to see some of the really cool photos from this trip, you can go to our Facebook page, Two Hippies, One Drunk, and Tyler does photo dumps usually of all the cities and or states we've been to at the time. And so, yeah, that was really cool. Austin, what I'm learning about on this trip, by the way, another thing I've been learning on this trip is like, it's weird. Like when I went out, my mom was like, you need to go for a whole year. Couldn't you do this in 6 months? And I'm like, well, technically you could, but it's like, as you get along, it's like, we're only in these places 2 days and we're seeing so much, and we've been on the road for 4 weeks. But the reality is like 2 days in Austin. One of them I was hungover for. So, I'm finding places I want to go back to. Albuquerque seemed really cool. San Diego. So far, though, San Diego and Austin are the 2 big ones that I'd like to go back to. Albuquerque was cool. I think I kind of got a sense of it. But San Diego and Austin so far are cities I'd really like to go back to at some point. And so me and Tyler did, like I said, we had that beer at the bar afterwards, which was fun. Walked around a little bit, saw the Capitol. That was cool. We did the swimming in that really cool pool. So that was Austin. And yesterday we just drove. We drove from Austin to Houston. And then today we went from Houston and we're in Lafayette, Louisiana today for a few days, actually, and then on to New Orleans after this. So I guess that's probably going to do it for now. I feel like without Amy, it's not as good, but I wanted to still get through some of the stuff. I'll say this, one more thing I'll say is that we're learning through these hotels is that no hotel is the same. It does not matter if you go to the same chain, same name, nothing like that. Like the town, and I will also say Town Place Suites for Marriott so far, by far, all of our favorites. And I have the points, by the way, for people thinking that maybe I'm spending $150 a night. I did a thing where I got a Marriott Bonvoy card and a Wyndham card. So I have points I'm working off, which is what's able to make us stay at some of these nicer places that I honestly wouldn't have the money for. And speaking of money, we are not ever asking for money. I will never beg or, demand money. We are out on the road here. We all did save up money, but stuff is expensive, inflation right now and stuff like that. Not crying, but it is what it is. If anybody would feel the need or so generous as to maybe throw us a few dollars here or there to help us out with some, getting some food and stuff, what I've been doing is we're splitting it all, but I'm taking them under my name, Eric, ERIC, Fady, F as in Frank, ADIE. That's my Venmo account. I also have a Cash App account. If you want to message me about that, I can tell you that one. But we do 3 shows a week. I do this Big E comedy venture, usually on Mondays, today on Tuesday. We do the Two Hippies, One Drunk episode on Wednesdays, which are all green episodes. Those episodes are just podcasts. They don't technically have anything to do with the road. The road might come into play, but we basically do regular episodes. And then once a week at some day, we do a Two Hippies, One Drunk on the road. So that's 3 episodes a week. We do throw a bunch of stuff on our Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and YouTube pages. And I kind of came up with this like, hey, if you're listening and you listen to consume any of these episodes or content, maybe $1 a week, that'd be great. If not, no big deal. That's just what we're kind of asking. You can certainly give more. I would not reject a larger money order, but we're only kind of asking maybe $1 a week is kind of a baseline thing. So I think for now, that will be it. For anyone watching the YouTube video live, if you came in late, Amy was here at the beginning. She had some internet problems. If you want to listen to the full thing, she's in the first half of it where I'm talking about Roswell, New Mexico, and the aliens. That will be thrown in the podcast form on Spotify and iTunes, Big E Comedy Venture. The YouTube will be in these 2 parts. So I think that's what I'm going to do for this week. Next week, I should be coming from, let me see. I'll be in New Orleans when I do this next week. I'll be in New Orleans, Louisiana, the Big Easy, as it were, when we do this next week. So I think that's going to be it for this week. Thanks so much. A lot of you people were checking out here on the second version when Amy unfortunately had to step away. But I really appreciate everyone listening. Everyone's been so cool on social media and supporting all of our videos and watching our Facebook page things, and it means a lot to us. All right, that's it for this week. Thank you so much, guys. I'll see you.